The rain fell softly over the green rice fields, each drop blurring the fragile line between earth and sky. In that misty light of dawn, the world seemed suspended, quiet, endless, alive. By the small wooden bridge at the edge of the village, Diep stood holding a basket of morning vegetables. Her bare feet pressed gently into the damp soil, the smell of wet earth and young leaves rising around her like perfume. There was peace in that moment, the kind that only the countryside can offer, when time feels slow and forgiving. She didn't know that her life was about to change forever that morning. A car, silver, sleek, out of place among the mud paths, slowed near the field. The rain tapped lightly on its windows before stopping. A man stepped out. He brushed the raindrops from his sleeves. James, a CEO from the city, a man of deadlines and deals, whose GPS had failed him that morning and brought him somewhere no satellite could predict, into Diep's world. He looked around, confused but curious, until he saw her. A woman with a calm smile and eyes that reflected the rhythm of the land. "Are you lost, sir?" Diep asked softly, her voice blending with the sound of rain on bamboo leaves. James chuckled. "Maybe a little. But it's a beautiful place to be lost." That was how it began, two worlds meeting at the wrong place, but perhaps at the right time. He came from a world of glass towers, tailored suits, and boardrooms heavy with ambition. She belonged to the rhythm of harvests, where the sun and soil decided the clock. Each time James visited the countryside for his agricultural project, he found himself searching for her, the girl by the bridge who smiled as if she carried peace in her hands. Their conversations began simply. About crops, about the weather, about how city lights could never outshine the lanterns glowing softly in her small house. And slowly, something changed. James, who once spoke only in figures and forecasts, began to listen, to laugh, to feel again. He learned that joy could live in a bowl of hot rice after a long day, in laughter shared beneath the rain, in the way Diep saw beauty in things that never made profit but always made meaning. One evening, as the sun slipped behind the hills and turned the paddies gold, James took Diep's hand. "When everything is ready," he said, his voice low and trembling, "when I've built the life I promised you, I'll come back." "I'll marry you." Diep looked up, her eyes full of both faith and fear. "Just don't let time make you forget." James smiled, brushing a raindrop from her cheek. "Time will never win against love." But time, as always, was listening. That night, he drove away under a sky that had begun to cry again. Behind him, Diep stood by the bridge, the wind tangling her hair, her heart whispering prayers into the dark, not knowing how long she would have to wait. The city swallowed James whole, its lights dazzled, its noise deafened. Every day blurred into the next, meetings, investors, deadlines, the unrelenting grind of ambition. He still carried Deep's photo in his wallet, her standing in the rice fields, smiling beneath the wide blue sky. Sometimes he would take it out before closing his eyes, letting her face remind him who he once was. But love cannot compete easily with exhaustion. As months became years, James's company began to crumble under the weight of success. Investors grew impatient, contracts fell apart, and betrayal crept in, most painfully from John, his oldest partner. Every night, James stayed late in his glass office, staring out at the city lights that now looked less like stars and more like chains. Love can wait, he told himself. I'll go back when everything's fixed. But when became later, and later became years. He wrote letters to Deep that he never sent, too afraid that words could no longer bridge the distance he had built. Far away, the seasons turned gently in the countryside. Each morning, Deep rose before dawn, tended the fields, and took her daughter, Nhi, to school. The villagers would ask, half kindly, half curious, "That man from the city, is he coming back?" Deep always smiled softly. "He will," he promised, but her eyes had begun to hold the quiet ache of waiting too long. At night, she would open a small wooden box, inside, a letter and a silver ring James had given her. He had promised to return with a second ring, a wedding one. She would touch it gently, whispering to herself, "Maybe tomorrow." But tomorrow never came. One evening, as she watered her garden, the sunset burned deep orange, the same hue James once said was his favorite. "If you're looking at the same sky," she murmured, "maybe you still remember me." And somewhere far away, in a car stuck in traffic, James stared at that same sunset reflected in glass towers. His phone buzzed, another deal, another meeting, but for once, he let it ring unanswered. "If love is real," he whispered, "then time can't erase it." But in the silence that followed, he realized the truth that frightened him most. He had changed, and maybe love couldn't find him anymore, not in the man he had become. When autumn came, James finally made a decision. After 5 long years, he packed a single suitcase, turned off his phone, and drove toward the countryside, toward the bridge, the fields, the memory of a promise. The road was the same, winding, golden with ripened rice, whispering like the past calling his name. But James was not the same man. His hair was darker, his eyes heavier, his heart both burdened and reborn with regret. "I'll find her," he said aloud. "And this time, I'll make things right." When he reached the village, memories rushed back like a flood. The market where she used to laugh with the other women. The little wooden bridge that once felt like the edge of the world. Every corner held her echo, but when he reached her old house, he froze. It was still there, but changed. The garden had grown lush, the gate freshly painted, children's laughter floating from inside. A little girl ran out, her hair tied in 2 ponytails. She stopped and stared at him curiously. "What's your name, little one?" James asked gently. "I'm NHI, she said, smiling. "Who are you?" The world seemed to stop. James's heart trembled. That smile, those eyes. Before he could speak, Diep appeared at the doorway. Time had softened her face but deepened her grace. Her eyes still gentle, yet older, wiser, braver. "James," she whispered. He took a step closer. "Diep, I came back." Her voice quivered. "You promised to come back a long time ago." "I know," he said softly. "And I broke that promise." "I thought I could fix everything first, the company, the debts. But in trying to fix everything, I lost the only thing that mattered." She looked down at her hands. Around her neck hung the ring he'd given her, now tarnished but unforgotten. "You didn't lose it, James. You just left it waiting too long." NHI ran to her mother's side. "Mama, who is he?" Diep hesitated, her voice trembling between past and present. "He's someone who once meant a lot to me." James's throat tightened. "I didn't know about her," he said. "I didn't tell you," Diep replied gently. "You had your life in the city. I didn't want to hold you back. She's my reason for everything now." James lowered his head, his voice breaking. "I left it all behind, the company, the city, to come back to you both." "I don't care about money anymore. I just want to start over, if you'll let me." The air was heavy with silence. Only the rustling trees and the sound of children playing broke it. Diep looked at him, really looked, and saw a man no longer made of ambition but of repentance. "You can't undo time, James," she said quietly. "You can only live what's left of it." "If you want to stay, then stay. But not with promises, with actions." He nodded, eyes wet. "Then I'll stay. And I'll prove it." The days that followed were different, quietly beautiful in their simplicity. Gone were the phone calls, the deadlines, the city's noise. Now James woke to the sound of roosters and Nee's laughter. He learned to fix fences, feed chickens, water the garden Diep had tended all these years. His hands, once used for signing contracts, now turned the soil. At first, everything felt foreign. But every evening, as he watched Diep sitting on the porch under the fading light, her face calm and steady, he felt a peace he had never known. Yet, even peace carries silence. There were nights when he caught her gazing at the horizon, not in anger, but with a quiet longing only time could teach. One evening, as the sky turned amber, James and Diep sat together in the garden. The air was filled with the scent of basil and wet soil. "I've been thinking," he said. "I want to build something here, not a company like before. Something real, something ours." "What kind of something?" she asked. "A small organic farm." "Crops, fruits, herbs. We'll sell them at the market, maybe even export one day. It's small, but it's honest." Diep smiled, the kind of smile that comes from trust, not words. "You really think we can do that?" "We've both started from nothing before," James said. "This time, we'll start together." And they did. Days turned into months. The land bloomed again, rows of vegetables and flowers where weeds once grew. James handled the planning, Diep the planting, Nhi the laughter. Their teamwork became their rhythm became their life. One evening, as the sun melted into the fields, James approached Diep. His hands were trembling slightly, holding a small box. "5 years ago," he began softly, "I made you a promise I couldn't keep. I don't expect you to forget that. But today, I want to make a new one, not with words, but with the life we've built." He opened the box. Inside was a simple silver ring, not expensive, but shining with sincerity. "Will you marry me? Not the man I was, but the one standing before you now." Diep looked at him for a long moment, eyes glistening. Then she nodded. "Yes, James," she whispered. "Because this time, you're not just promising, you're living it." Nhi giggled as James slipped the ring on Diep's finger. The three of them stood hand in hand as the evening wind swept through the fields, carrying with it the scent of rain and new beginnings. In that quiet, golden hour, James realized something profound. Home wasn't the company he built, or the city he conquered. Home was here, in the laughter of a child, in the eyes of the woman who waited, in the love that had survived the test of time.